What's going on, guys? Super Insane 18 here, and today I am going to be bringing you a Purrely deck profile as part of Sneak Week, although today is technically the day that Cyberstorm access is legal, being Wednesday. OTS stores are always allowed to release it 2 days early, but we still are technically a few days away from the official release date of Friday this upcoming week. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and show you guys the Purrely deck profile. Let's go ahead and jump on in. And before we get into the video, I just want to remind you guys that the insane hieroglyph playmat that you're seeing on screen right now is currently available for pre-order at only $29.99. Definitely a steal. A lot of people's mats go for more than that, so make sure you check it out. Make sure you get yours before they run out. Go ahead and go to insanetcg.com. That is insanetcg.com on the screen and in the description down below. Make sure to pick up your insane hieroglyph playmat today. Before we get in, Purrely is a deck that a lot of people are expecting to be a top tier contender, with almost every spell in your deck being an E-Telly for your deck, at the cost of a discard of course, but also making a monster that your opponent can't really do anything to other than maybe tribute it, which is why you're seeing a rise in cards like Kaijus and Santa Claus. Definitely very strong. Let's go ahead and show you guys the ratios that we've got. So we're playing 3 copies of the regular Purrely. Obviously on summon this is kind of like a pot of duality. You get to reveal the top 3, add a Purrely from your deck to your hand, so a little bit of a gamble, but you're playing enough that you're probably going to hit it more often than not. And it also lets you pretty much rank up, because even though it's a level 1, you go into rank 2s into a Purrely from your extra deck using the quick play that you activate. So yeah, we have 2 copies of Purrely. I think Purrely Lily was the better name, but that's not a topic for this video. Yeah, this one's really good. You're just able to add any Purrely card that is not a quick play spell, so you're able to add the trap, you're able to add My Friend Purrely, and it pretty much gets you where you need to go. And then it does the exact same thing as the regular Purrely, although it does it from the graveyard. You target one of the quick plays in graveyard and then rank it up depending on the quick play that you targeted. And that's actually it for the Purrely monsters. Now we have a very small Dark World engine. We're playing 2 copies of Snow and 1 copy of Brow. The reason for this is because all of your spells require a discard. This kind of just lets you keep extending. Snow is not once per turn, and it can search itself. So what you can do is you can discard Snow off of one of them, search your other Snow, discard Snow off another one, search your Brow, discard Brow off another one, draw 1 card, and you're really not losing any advantage on that discard because the discards are replacing themselves. So I think it's really strong. A lot of people are playing the Rainbow Bridge engine. That way you can go ahead and go into something like the field spell easier. But I don't think the field spell is all that important, honestly. Like, it's good, but it's not... You don't really need it. And the Cobalt Eagle is a brick, so I would rather just not play bricks. Then the rest of the monsters are actually just going to be hand traps. We're on 3 copies of Droll and Lockbird, in my opinion tied for the first strongest hand trap of this format. We're only on 2 copies of Ash Blossom. While Ash Blossom is the most generically good hand trap, it's never just a turn ender, so you don't really need it. You do need it against something like Branded, then in that case it's a turn ender, but I would much rather have more copies of other things, which is why we cut it down to 2. We have 3 copies of Ghost Ogre. Again, this is tied for the first best hand trap with Droll. And then the last 2 monsters are actually going to be 2 copies of Santa Claus. With this deck raising in popularity, as well as strategies like Arise Heart Pass still existing, and being able to get rid of something really important like a Spell Canceller from a super heavy samurai board, I think that it's really important to play cards that can just tribute your opponent's monsters. This can potentially be a Kaiju. There's a bit of a debate between Kaijus and Santa Claus for this deck specifically. I'm still a fan of Santa Claus because of the Testudo lock. You're still able to do it on Testudo. Because of Ibly, you're able to tribute it over your own Ibly if your opponent gives it to you. But the reason for a Kaiju is because you can summon it in attack, and that lets you do the Happiness OTK a little bit easier. But we have other ways of doing the Happiness OTK even through a Santa Claus, which we will show you when we get to the extra deck. But that's it for the monsters. Onto the spells. We have 3 copies of My Friend Purrely. This is probably the best card in the deck. Not only does it just let you add any of your Purrely cards, but it also recurs up to 3 of your quick plays from your grave if your opponent is somehow able to out your board. And the really cool part about this is that it doesn't say you have to reveal 3 with different names. So you can reveal 3 copies of the same one and pretty much just get a guaranteed add of whatever Purrely spell that you want. So that's just absolutely insane. We've got 3 copies of the Purrely Pretty Memory. This one's really cool because it's just activatable. You don't need to have any monsters that you need to do anything with. You just make both players gain 1,000, then you obviously have the discard to summon, and then its other effect lets you take one of your opponent's monsters by getting rid of a card that you have, so just really, really strong. 3 copies of Sleepy Memory. This is the new one as well. Really, really good, and this is what allows the deck to do the draw 6 combo. If you guys don't know, there is a way in this deck to draw 6 cards during your opponent's turn, and it's thanks to Sleepy Memory, because when it is attached as material during the opponent's standby, you're able to draw a card, and that is not once per turn. So if you have all 3 under one of your monsters, you can draw 3. Then if you use the trap to rank up in the standby phase, you can draw 3 more, and it's just absolutely insane. 3 Delicious Memory. This is probably also one of the best ones, just because it is mandatory for Plump, and Plump is the best of the XYZs, other than Nor, obviously. But yeah, so we've got 3 of those. We have 3 Happy Memory. We're pretty much just maxing out on all of them, because again, they're just E-Tellies at the absolute worst case scenario, so yeah. Then we only have 1 copy of the Field Spell. Like I said, the Field Spell's good, but it's not great, so I don't feel like you really need it. And there's plenty of ways into it if you do need it, so yeah, we only really need 1 of those. Then we actually have 2 copies of Triple Tactics Thrust, as well as a Talents. I think that this deck is going to get hand-trapped a lot, so being able to thrust into certain things, definitely really impactful. And then Talent is obviously Talent, but there are actually 2 other targets for Thrust. One of them is going to be the 1 copy of Infinite Impermanence. This is actually what we cut the 3rd Ash Blossom for, just to make sure that we had something pretty good for Thrust on turn 1 if we needed it. And the Purrely Yeep, since it's a normal trap, you can actually thrust into that as well. So that's the main deck at 40 cards. Let's show you guys the extra. So the extra is going to be pretty standard. There's not really much variance that you can do in this extra deck. I mean, there's a couple tech choices here and there, and I'll go over those when we get to them. We're playing 2 copies of Purrely Beauty. This is an Infinite Impermanence as long as it has its specific quick play attached to it. You're able to use it as a quick effect, but not just that. This is also what lets you do the Happiness OTK through something like Santa Claus, because this can turn a monster into attack position. So just kind of lets you do a lot of damage there. We have 2 copies of the Purrely Plump. This is the best one because it's just able to attach 2 from either graveyard, so that's how you stack up your materials underneath it to make a really big Nor. Then we have the 1 Happiness for the OTK, like I was saying, and then we have 2 copies of Nor. Not only is this for something like a Kashtira matchup where they might rip it out of your extra deck, but it's also just good to have one, because with a lot of these tribute effects in the meta, being able to make another one if your first one gets outed is definitely very relevant. We're on 1 copy of Kiki Nagashi Fuko. I really like this card because it prevents you from losing if you get hand-trapped. Just take your 2 level 1s, overlay them into this, and there really isn't much your opponent can do to out you at that point unless they have one of those tributors. So I just think it's really good for keeping you alive for a turn if you need it. And then we have 1 copy of Sylvan Princess Sprite. This is a tech choice as well. This is just to kind of add another spell if you need it. You can kind of get where you need to go depending. You play a ton of spells, so the chances of you revealing a spell off the top, pretty high. We have the 1 copy of the Ensemble Robin. This is what you can do. Your end board can be the Nor and this, so not only do you have a Nor that is pretty much unoutable other than tributing, but you also have this to bounce special summon monsters, and this is not once per turn, so you can do it multiple times. Then we have a Zeus package. We have our 1 Assembled Nightingale for the attacking directly, as well as the Downer to put on top of not only the Assembled Nightingale, but if we need to put it under or over something like the Plump or the Beauty. And then, of course, our 2 Zeus. This is partially for Kashtira, partially just because it is an entire extra deck of XYZs, so being able to make more than 1 Zeus can be very impactful in a grind game. And the final card is going to be a Codebreaker Virus Swordsman. Now, Codebreaker Virus Swordsman is for something like Baguska. You just take 2 monsters, go into this, out the Baguska, because Baguska really, really hurts this deck, and I don't really think there's any other better out. You could argue maybe something like Relinquished Anima, which only takes 1 monster, but that requires them to play into it by putting Baguska under either of the extra monster zones, and I don't want to have to rely on that. I don't want to rely on my opponent making a silly mistake. I'd rather just play the guaranteed out, which is why I think that Virus Swordsman is the better card, and that's going to be the extra deck. And there you guys have it. That is going to be my Purrely deck profile. There's not really a combo tutorial that can be made for this because a lot of it is just super dependent on your draws and what you're going up against, and it's not really a combo deck. It's definitely more control based. So instead of a combo tutorial, maybe I'll bring you guys a live duel. If you want to see that live duel, definitely make sure to like this video. That will tell me that you guys want to watch that. Historically, my live duels don't really do that well, so I don't really do them too much, but if this is something you guys want to see, definitely let me know by liking and maybe even comment down below. You guys know know the deal. If you liked it, make sure to subscribe, hit the notification bell, like, comment, share with your friends, maybe consider supporting me on Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.